What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Late Night Startup Show. And if you're wondering if it's the night, it's not. It's actually the day. It's the weekend. And of course, I'm working on my startup because you have to keep it going, right? So yeah, that's why I'm not filming at night. And today I want to talk about this concept of the best. There's no such thing as the best. I just want to put it out there. There's no such thing as the best. There's no best way. There's a lot of strategy out there, a lot of advice on what to do. And while some of that advice is definitely useful, you shouldn't be prioritizing advice. You should be prioritizing execution, action. That is because each situation in business, especially when it comes to creating a startup, is unique in itself because of the circumstances. Circumstances are unique. Of course, there are tried and true things like always talk to your customer, always listen to your customer. These are general principles, but just having these principles in your mind without actually taking action. If you do that and spend 80% of your time just consuming information and 20% of your time actually executing, you will probably experience very little progress. Instead, you should be spending 95% of your time executing and then 5% of your time, whatever is left, to consume information, to try to maybe orient yourself towards a proper strategy. That's what I've been doing. And it hasn't been glamorous. I've been wrong so many times. I can't even remember how many times I've pivoted already until now. I've finally gone to something that actually sticks, at least based on the traction I'm getting on Reddit from just talking to people about this problem, just talking about my potential solution to this problem, getting them to actually try the solution in the most manual sense without even my building a product yet. So understand that it's execution that gives you the data that you need to continue making progress. The data won't come from an article. The data won't come from some advisor, some guru. It's going to come from the results of your execution. That data is going to come from the feedback that you get from the actions you take. For example, if you pitch your product in a certain way, and I don't advise you pitch your product at all, but let's say you describe your product in a certain way and your target user is confused. That's data. The market is telling you you are wrong. And what's the point of all of this? Why am I talking about all of this? I just want you to understand that you don't need higher level information. You don't need some predefined set of knowledge to do this well. You just have to know how to talk to your users. You just have to know how to listen to people. Everything else can be learned through execution. For example, I didn't really know how to build an MVP, right? So I went on YouTube and I literally watched every single Y Combinator video about how to build an MVP. And then I went about building one. After 2 failed MVPs, I think I finally have a good sense of what it's like to build an MVP. And I actually remember the mistakes I made. I remember what actually caused negative feedback. I didn't talk to my users. I built something too complicated, which took months instead of weeks. I didn't properly communicate my specification set to my developer. So that resulted in a very clunky MVP. I made all those mistakes by taking action. And because of those mistakes, I now know what is good to do, what you should do. Also, by executing, by actually going out there and taking action, you start finding out what works for yourself. And sometimes what works isn't actually talked about very often. For example, I had no idea I could get in touch with so many different users from so many different communities on Reddit. I had no idea Reddit showed pre-qualified users, just people who were talking about the problem. I had no idea there were tens of thousands of these people out there on the subreddit on Reddit. I didn't read an article. I just thought about Reddit as a potential place where I could talk to people. So I just started talking to people. And then somehow I ended up in all these subreddits, created my own subreddit, managed to increase my karma to almost 1,000. It's just execution that's going to really get you the feedback you need, the data you need to understand what to build, and more importantly, to understand how to make progress. Keep your eye on the feedback you're getting from your users. Understand that by taking action and then getting the feedback and then understanding what went well and what didn't, that's what's going to drive results and progress for your startup. So with that, that's today's episode. Don't overthink it. Don't judge yourself. You will make mistakes. It's all trial and error. It's just by trialing and erroring, that's how you're going to figure out what works and what doesn't. You're not going to find out by just thinking in your head. You're not going to find out by simply strategizing. Although you should have a strategy, you need to know that having a strategy in itself is not going to give you what matters for driving progress. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.